Hey guys, welcome back to my video. It's Tia here. If you are new, please like and subscribe. But for today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys about one of the worst dates, actually the worst date that I've ever been on in my entire freaking life. Okay, obviously all of my story times are from the past. I never do story times on like what just happened because I feel like that's kind of like weird. I met this guy, I think it was, I don't even know if it was Tinder, Bumble, I don't even know what app it was at this point, but pretty much I talked to him like it was a time over the summer and I was like, okay, cool, like he seems pretty decent and interesting, whatever. I didn't even look at his bio thoroughly because I feel like back then I was just like looking for attention. I was just like, you know what, I just need someone to hang out with. Like I don't really care, I'm not really trying to date for real. So I pretty much just matched with him just to have someone to text or whatever, like a text station ship, not even like a situation ship. So pretty much me and him were like texting back and forth, and like he would always make excuses like to not hang out with me because like he had like a certain type of job and then I had my job and everything, so of course like my day would be occupied, but it's like I did have days off, so I'd be like, oh yeah, like are you free this day? And he would be like, no, not really, like I got stuff to do, blah blah blah. And I was just like over at that point, like I didn't really care if we hung out or not or whatever, because we were texting for at least like 2 or 3 months at that point without hanging out. So I was like, okay, whatever, this is just somebody to have to text. Like I did want someone to like hang out with, like go places with or just chill with or whatever, but like, you know, I guess I don't know if he didn't want to or he's just simply too busy. So I was like, whatever. So then he was like, okay, like I'm finally free to hang out, and I was like, oh dang, you are? That's cool. We pretty much agreed to go to this like little like mall outlet in my city or whatever and just like walk around or whatever, and I didn't really have any intentions to like spend money or anything, because like going to the mall, it is like a good thing to do like with friends or with like a guy, whatever. But me, like when I go to the mall with someone, I'm just there to walk around, because me, when I go shopping, I actually like to like look at things and try stuff on, and some people don't like, you know, waiting around or like doing that, and like they say like men hate going shopping with women, whatever. So he was like, yeah, we could just go there, walk around, get something to eat after. And I was like, okay, cool. So then he was like, oh, by the way, there's one little problem. And I was like, oh my god, what's the problem? My car is in the shop. And I was like, bro, so out of all the days you asked me to hang out, you're gonna ask me when you don't even have your car? Like how unfortunate is that, you know? And then I'm thinking like, oh, he probably is gonna ask me if I can like drive him there or whatever, because he said he lives like close to the mall or whatever. So I was like, oh my god, like, because it's like part of me is like, I'm okay with driving people that I actually like know or whatever, but when it comes to like guys or whatever, I just don't like having them. I just don't like having people in my car. I don't even like having my freaking family in my car because it's my car. I hate driving by myself in general, you know. That's why I like a man with a car. But besides the fact, I was like, oh dang, like that's unfortunate, like do you want to reschedule or what? And he was like, oh no, like I'm just gonna take an Uber to the mall and I'm just gonna like meet you there at like 6 o'clock or whatever. And I was like, really? An Uber? Isn't that gonna cost like $30? Those things like Uber, Lyft, whatever, all those things have been so expensive for years or whatever. But he was like, no, like I'm cool with taking like an Uber and I'll just meet you there because you're like, I lived farther than him or whatever. So I was like, okay, whatever you want to do. And then basically I got there at exactly 6 o'clock because me being the Virgo that I am, I'm always on time, especially like if I'm like meeting someone and he lived like closer than me, you know. So I expected him to get there before me. That's just how it works. And I had to go on the freaking highway and I don't know, it's just annoying. But overall I got there at 6. He didn't get there until 6:20, I think. So I was taking selfies in my car because I don't know, even know if it was like golden hour or whatever was happening, but I was taking selfies in my car. And then I see like a random car pull up, and then he's texting me like, oh, where you at, whatever. And I'm like, bro, I'm over here in this parking lot. And he was like, why did you choose the farthest parking lot? And I was like, dang, well, I don't really be coming here. We didn't really specify where to park or whatever. So that was low-key annoying me. And he was like, okay, well now I'm gonna have to walk all the way to that side of the mall so I can meet you there, blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, do you want me to start walking so we can like meet halfway? And he was like, no, like I'm just gonna meet you over there. And I was like, okay. So I pretty much waited in my car for like 2 minutes or something. Then I got out, I was standing there, and then he finally comes up to me, and like this guy is short, bro. And like I know some men are like short kings out there, whatever, but he was short. And like I'm 5'2", so people always say like, oh my gosh, like you're only 5'2", like why do you want a guy who's 6 feet? Like after talking to like tall guys, I just like was interested in taller guys, but at the same time I wasn't even interested to date this guy, so I was like, whatever, like he's just short, whatever. So then I was like, dang, like you're shorter than I thought. And said you were like 5'9" or 5'10". He was like, no, like I'm like 5'7", 5'6", something like that. And then I was like, wow, okay. So then we were just like walking, and he was like, oh, do you have any places in mind that you want to shop at? And then like part of me that's like low-key annoying, because I'm like, first of all, I already told you I'm not coming here to spend money. Like we're just supposed to walk around, and then I'm gonna go buy my own food when we go to dinner or whatever. And then he's like, oh well, you know, there's a couple places that I want to go, so let's walk around. So he went to these like kind of, it's not like high-end places, but at the same time, like I feel like men's stuff in general is way more expensive than women's. So he walks into the store, and then we're in the men's section, and he's like looking past everything, and I'm like, bro, is this how guys actually shop? Like they don't even like look at the shirt, hold it up, they don't look at the back, they just be going through the clothes. And I'm like, okay. And then he's like looking at everything, and he's like, oh, I already have this, I already have that. I'm like, why are you telling me for? So one, that was like the creepiest thing, not even like creepy, but just weirdest thing I've ever experienced. Like he was just going around touching stuff, and he was like, oh yeah, I have that, I have that. And then also another thing that I hate is that he talks so loud, and I hate loud people, because like use your inside voice. You know, I'm like right here, you're screaming across the entire store, all these people are like why the fuck is he talking so loud, you know? So he's like, oh, I have that, I have that. I'm like, okay, well, you know, like what do you mean you have all this stuff ready? And he was like, oh well, I used to work at Dillard's, and like they would get all these like name brand stuff in the store, and you know, I got a discount, so I would buy all that stuff, blah blah blah. So I already have most of this stuff. And I was like, okay. So I couldn't tell if he was trying to flex his money, or if he just like is the type of person to be like, yeah, like just point stuff out like that. I was like, okay. So then he's going through the stuff, and he was like, oh okay, maybe I'll get this or something like this, I don't know, I don't know, I'm really And then he asked me to pick like which of the shirts I liked better, and I was like, oh, I like the green one. And he was like, okay, I'll go with the blue one. And I was like, why did you ask me then if you're gonna pick the blue one anyways? And then the next awkward thing that happened is he went to the cashier, right? And obviously, like when two people of the opposite sex are hanging out, people are just gonna assume y'all are dating. That's just what people do, even though me and him weren't. So then we walk up to the cashier. I usually don't hover around people, because like they're trying to like type in their credit card pin or whatever, so I don't really hang around like by the cashier watching them ring up the stuff. I like walking around the store, and I'm just like, whatever, like I'll be over here while you're over there checking out. So then a girl was ringing him up, and then he's over there making casual conversation. Like I think like he is just an extrovert, and he talks to literally everything that breathes. So he was having casual conversation with her, and I was thinking like, dang, like imagine if people think we're together. It literally seems like he's flirting with this girl, and I'm over here just like standing here. And it was so awkward, because people were looking at me, like the other guys who worked in there, they were like looking at me, and they were like, ain't that your man over there flirting with the female cashier? Like that's the type of look that they were giving me. And then he was talking for like the longest time, and she was like, okay, bye, have a nice day. And then he's like, yeah, I'll see you later, blah blah blah. And I'm like, bro, what? And then we were finally walking out that store, and he was like, oh, where should we go next? And I'm like, bro, I wanted to go home at this point. That's how bad it was. And he talked so freaking loud, and there was like no one there either. And I think the mall was like empty too, because we went late, first of all, and then we went on like a random Tuesday or something like that. So the mall was barely empty, so you could hear him from a mile away. And then even when I was walking, he was talking to me so loud when he's standing right next to me. And this lady walked past. We were like walking past each other, and she walked past me. She was like walking, and she like had like a scared look on her face, like she made eye contact with me, and she was like she knew I was struggling, because my face was like, help me. help me, bro. Like that, like I was cringing inside of how loud he was talking. It was just embarrassing. And then we went in a couple stores. Once again, he pointed out, he was like, yeah, I have that already. Oh, I have that in red, I have that in blue. And then I think we went into like the Adidas store or something, and he was like pointing out some jersey he wanted. Then he was talking to those guys, and he just talked to literally every single human being that was in the store. And I'm like, bro, why are you so talkative to strangers, bro? You know, I don't know, that's just annoying to me, because especially because like I'm an introvert. So that's when I was like, I don't even want to hang out with him again, you know, because imagine us like one-on-one. That's gonna be terrible. I got to the point where I was literally like fed up, because I feel like, I don't know, in like when I was like way younger, I used to just accept anything, and I used to like, you know, go on the whole entire date or whatever just to get like, not like free food, but I would like just keep the whole thing going until like the whole entire date was over. And then I just like would text them and be like, yeah, like I don't like you, it's not gonna work, sorry. And then I would just block them. But this time I was like, no, he gonna know how weird he was acting. Like it was so bad. So then we were leaving the mall, and I told him, I was like, oh, I'll drive you home, because I already said I would drive him home over the text before we even got there, you know. So because he said he lived like 5 minutes from the mall. So then now I'm stuck driving this fool home, when I should have just said like, oh, I'm going to the bathroom, and I should have just drove away and blocked him. That's what I should have did. But I'm too nice for like certain situations. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then I was like, oh, where do you want to eat? Because I'm thinking like, me personally, I still gotta eat, because I hadn't even eaten all day. So I was like, where do you want to eat? And he was like, I'm not hungry, because you know, I barely eat anything, and then like I just smoked before this, blah blah blah. And me personally, that's why like I can't even date a smoker at this point, because like I want someone who actually is hungry, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, not someone who just eats one meal a day, 2 in the morning. Like I can't deal with that anymore. But basically he was like, oh yeah, I'm not hungry right now. But I'm like, bro, and he's telling me he don't eat. I'm like, no wonder you're the freaking same size as me, like 100 pounds, because you don't freaking be eating like a grown man should be eating. And then I was like, okay. He was like, yeah, you can just get food by yourself, like that's totally fine, you know, like I'll just watch you. And I'm like, bro, no. Like I hate when people do that. They're like, no, you can just do it by yourself. No, the whole reason why we're here together is to hang out together. And then he was also like texting his friends at this point, like, you know, like I'm the type to look in people's phones and be like, who are they texting? So I saw that he was like in a group chat with some guys or whatever. That low-key annoyed me, because it seemed like he was trying to make plans like to hang out with his friends like right after me or something. And that's like a pet peeve of mine. Like if we're hanging out, don't make plans just because I say like, oh, I'm about to leave or this is about to be over. Don't make plans right in front of me. At least wait till I'm out the door before you call up your little homies and be like, oh yeah, like let's hang out tonight, let's play the game. Like do that when I leave or what. Okay. But basically I drove him home, and he was like, oh yeah, so this is pretty fun, blah blah blah. And he was like still texting his friends, and I'm like, who are you texting, bro? He was like, oh, I'm just trying to make plans with this girl, you know, she said she would probably link up with me tonight, blah blah blah. I'm like, what? You know, like that's like, who says that, you know? And obviously like he meant that he was gonna like hook up with her, especially if it's like 9 o'clock or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay. So then like he was like, okay, so like, you know, that was pretty fun, wasn't it? Like I had a good time, how about you? And I was like, this was the worst date I've ever been on in my entire life. And then he was like, oh really? And I was like, yeah, really? Because I don't know, like guys just can't feel the vibes or like know what's going on, because guys are clueless or whatever. But and then I basically explained to him, I'm like, yeah, so you were being a weirdo, you were talking to any and everybody, you talk super freaking loud, you had to explain all these clothes that you already had to try to make it like, I don't know if you were flexing your money or whatever, something like that, and you were just really annoying, blah, blah. So I was explaining all these things, because the way that he talked, like I can't really remember the conversations, but it was just giving narcissist vibes. Like he would talk about himself, he wasn't really like getting to know me, like asking me like where I like to eat and stuff, or where we should hang out next. He was just like, yeah, so I do this, I have that, like I go shopping a lot, you know, I do this, blah blah blah. Like, and then I think he told me he was like, his last relationship was like 10 years with his ex or whatever. I think he was like the same age as me, I don't even know, but he was like, yeah, I knew her in like middle school, and like we've been dating or whatever we were dating for like 10 years. And I'm like, bro, why are you telling me about all this stuff? Like, I ain't trying to know all this stuff. I explained all that to him, and then he was like, wow, like, I didn't know you were thinking that the entire time. Like, and then he was like, yeah, I'm pretty good at reading body language though, and you did seem kind of uncomfortable. Like, I don't know if you were like faking the vibe or whatever. I'm like, no, you were literally making me uncomfortable, and I can't really like control my face like that. So like, he was probably looking at my facial expressions the whole time, and I was like, yeah, like awkward, cringy face or whatever. He tried to explain. He was like, well, you know, maybe that's your fault. Maybe you just need to be like more of an extrovert like me. And I'm like, wow, that's a pretty bold thing to say to someone, because like me, I'm like quiet and shy, and like, yeah, I match people's energy, but at the same time, he's talking about himself. You know, how am I supposed to match that energy if all he's talking about is himself? Like, I can't even include myself into the conversation because he would cut me off or like change the subject really fast, and I'm like, bro, you're not giving me any time to talk. So it's literally just him talking to himself at that point. So I was like, yeah, you're giving really like narcissist vibes, blah blah blah. And he's like, well, I am a Leo. And I was like, oh really? Because even like way in the past, I've had bad experiences with Leos, and they're like fire signs and super energetic and just loud and obnoxious and narcissistic. So like, even way back when, I just hated Leos, like even from the start when I started dating. So I was like, oh really? Like, I probably should have asked him what his sign was when we met on the freaking app, but I wasn't like that back then. Like, oh, tell me what I did wrong. And then he was like, well, everyone that I've hung out with has said I was like so nice and amazing, and I'm like the best guy they ever talked to, I'm the best guy they ever had sex with. And I'm like, bro, what? So he's basically here bragging about himself, like, you know. And I'm like, bro, those girls were probably lying to you. You know, like, not everyone is gonna tell you like straight up like this was the worst date ever. Some people are just gonna smile and nod and go home, you know. And then what was even funnier is that I matched, when I had like Bumble friends or whatever, I matched with this girl, and she told me she worked at the same company as him. And then I told her, I'm like, yeah, this guy that I just went on a date with is crazy. And she was like, oh my gosh, I know that guy. And like, she was saying that he's even like a weirdo in the workplace, and that he flirts with everybody there. He like talks way too much, like talks about other people's business, like gossips. I'm like, wow, that's crazy, you know. So that basically proves my point that like on a date he was giving narcissist vibes. I've never met anyone like that, you know. And like, just the way he talked, like, it seemed like he seemed confident, but at the same time it seemed like he was like overcompensating for something, like you know, that short man energy that people be talking about, how they just get angry so fast for no reason, or like just how they act a certain way. But that's what it was giving. And I've never been like, I was like embarrassed, I was scared, I was cringed out, I was like, nah, like, this can't be happening. Like, I'm here thinking like, is this real life right now? Like, because over text is a thing. Like, over text he was a different person, but you know, that's over text, and like, you can't really hear someone's voice, you can't like see the emotions and stuff. But the thing is, we were texting for like, what, 3 months before we even did this thing. And over text he seemed like nice, he would like explain things, he would like listen to like my side of things. And even when we sent voice messages, his voice seemed like nice, it didn't seem condescending or mean or anything. But I'm thinking like, dang, like in real life he's a whole nother person. Like, I couldn't even get food after I went, you know, so I didn't even eat anything all day. And then I basically told him off, and like, of course he didn't like accept it. He was like, oh no, you're probably just weird then, like, I guess our personalities just don't match, whatever, because you know, everyone I hang out with is like cool, and they're extroverts, and they get along with me. And I'm like, really? Is that what they be telling you? Because me, like, I don't know, I'm usually like shy. I should have just blocked him or whatever, but this time I was like, no, like, I'm gonna say my feelings, because somebody gotta humble this guy, bro. He seems like he's riding on his high horse, and I'm gonna knock him down. That was it for the date. I obviously like blocked him, whatever, and obviously you haven't seen him because he he lives in another city or whatever, and I don't be going over there. But yeah, that was it for this story time. It is extremely crazy, and I feel like even after that, like I was just like off dating for a while. I don't even know when that was, but I was just off dating after that. I was like, this is scary. Like there's really guys out here that thinking they all that, and he only 5'6", bro. But yeah, that was it for this video. If you guys want to see more, go ahead, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.